Winamp. It really whips the llama's ass.
Chapter 1. The Sound of Freedom. Man, if that sound just triggered a shot of dopamine straight to your brain, you're exactly where you need to be. Think back. It's a Tuesday night in 1999. You're sitting in a dark room illuminated only by the flicker of a bulky 17-inch CRT monitor. Your parents are asleep, and the only sound in the house is the rhythmic, mechanical hum of your hard drive struggling to process a 3-megabyte file you just spent 40 minutes downloading from Napster. You finally double-click that file, and then it appears. That tiny charcoal gray interface with neon green numbers. No ads, no suggested for you algorithms, no monthly subscriptions. Just you, your music, and a software that felt like it was actually yours. Winamp wasn't just a media player. It was our digital cockpit. It was the first time software felt like it had a soul, like it was made by some rebellious kid in a dorm room rather than a boardroom full of suits. But then, a $200 billion giant called AOL stepped in. They saw a miracle and tried to turn it into a spreadsheet. Today, we're going back to the era of MilkDrop visualizations, the shoutcast revolution, and the tragic, frustrating reason why the world's most iconic music player didn't just fade away, it was systematically dismantled. This is the rise and fall of Winamp. Chapter 2. The Rebel in the Dorm Room. To understand why we loved Winamp so much, you have to remember how bad everything else was. In 1997, if you wanted to play an MP3 on Windows, you usually had to use Windows Media Player. And let's be honest, Windows Media Player was a disaster. It was clunky, it looked like a piece of office equipment, and it crashed if you even dared to look at it wrong. Then came Justin Frankel. Justin was 18. He wasn't looking to build a multi-million-dollar empire. He just wanted a player that didn't suck. He and Dimitri released Winamp 1.0, and it was a revelation. It was tiny, it was fast, it didn't have a loading screen that lasted 5 minutes. It just worked. Human interjection. Remember that feeling? The first time you dragged a song into that playlist window and it started playing instantly? It felt like magic, like we were finally ahead of the curve. But it wasn't just about speed, it was about the vibe. Winamp 1.x had this industrial hacker aesthetic. It felt underground. When you saw that gray box on someone's screen, you knew they got it. They knew where the good music was. They knew how to navigate the wild west of the early internet. By the time Winamp 2.0 hit, the world was changing. Broadband was starting to replace dial-up. And suddenly, we weren't just downloading one song, we were building libraries. And Winamp was the library card we all carried. Before we dive into the $80 million mistake that broke our hearts, go ahead and hit that hype button. It's the digital equivalent of giving a thumbs up to the kid who shared his CD collection with you in high school. Join our community of survivors who remember the internet before it was polished and corporate. Subscribe to BeforeWiFi. We're documenting the era that everyone lived through, but nobody preserved. Now let's talk about the skin culture. Chapter 3. The Skin Culture. Personalizing the Void. If there is one thing that defines the Winamp era, it's the skins. Today, every app on your phone looks exactly the same. Rounded corners, white or dark mode, minimalist icons. It's sterile, it's corporate. But in 1998, Winamp gave us the keys to the kingdom. Do you remember browsing sites like 1001 Skins or the official Winamp library? You could spend 3 hours looking for the perfect interface. Maybe you wanted your player to look like a high-end Sony car stereo from the future. Maybe you wanted a Matrix-themed green code interface, or that weirdly specific nuclear skin that made the buttons look like radioactive hazard signs. This was the first time software felt personal. We weren't just users, we were curators. We wanted our desktops to be an extension of our personalities. We'd sit there meticulously adjusting the transparency, docking the equalizer just above the playlist, and feeling like we were operating a spaceship. And let's talk about the buttons. The shuffle and repeat buttons were tiny, but they felt mechanical. You'd click them and hear that satisfying thud in your mind. We had stickiness before it was a marketing term. You didn't just open Winamp to play a song, you opened it to look at it. Chapter 4. The AOL Kiss of Death. In June 1999, AOL was the undisputed king of the world. They were the gatekeepers of the internet for millions of Americans, and they saw Winamp, this tiny, ultra-popular software, and they wanted it. They bought Nullsoft for $80 million. At first, we thought, great, Justin and the team have the resources now, but corporatization is a slow-acting poison. AOL didn't understand Winamp. They saw it as a delivery vehicle for ads and tracking. They wanted to turn this lean, mean music-playing machine into a bloated portal. Justin Frankel, being the absolute legend he was, didn't play along. He was the classic rebel coder. While AOL executives were having meetings about how to monetize the user base, Justin was in his office building Gnutella, the first real peer-to-peer file-sharing network that didn't have a central server. He released it on the Winamp servers without telling AOL. The executives went ballistic. AOL's biggest partners were the record labels, and here was their own employee releasing the ultimate tool for piracy. They forced him to take it down within hours, but the genie was out of the bottle. This was the start of the internal war. AOL wanted a spreadsheet. Nullsoft wanted a revolution. Chapter 6, The MilkDrop Trance. If you ever sat in a dark room staring at your monitor for 2 hours while a techno remix played, you know exactly what I'm talking about. MilkDrop. Before we had high-definition VR or 4K gaming, we had visualizations. MilkDrop was a plugin that turned your music into a living, breathing light show. It was hypnotic. It was the first time we saw our music move. You'd hit L to randomize the preset, and suddenly your screen was a kaleidoscope of 3D tunnels, exploding stars, and liquid gold waves. It was our version of a high-tech planetarium. We didn't need Netflix for entertainment. We had 128 kilobits per second MP3 and a visualization engine that felt like it was tapping into the mainframe of the universe. Honestly, if you didn't try to sync your breathing to a MilkDrop preset at least once, did you even live through the 2000s? Chapter 6, The Bloat and the Beginning of the End. The downfall didn't happen overnight. It happened with Winamp 3. AOL pushed for a total rewrite of the code. They wanted it to be cross-platform and feature-rich. What we got was a bloated, slow, buggy mess that took 30 seconds to open. This is a classic tech tragedy. A software succeeds because it is light and fast. The corporation buys it and makes it heavy and slow because they want it to do everything. While Winamp 3 was struggling to load, a tiny little device called the iPod was starting to take over the world. Apple didn't give you skins. They didn't give you visualizations. They gave you a closed ecosystem called iTunes. It was the opposite of Winamp. It was controlled, it was polished, and for the average person, it was easier. We started trading our freedom for convenience. We stopped organizing our own folders of MP3s and let iTunes do it for us. We stopped hunt and peck skinning and accepted the brushed metal look Apple gave us. Chapter 7, The Final Shutdown. By the time Winamp 5 came out, skipping version 4 because, as the devs said, it was too big a jump from 3, it was actually a good product again. It combined the speed of version 2 with the features of version 3. But the damage was done. Justin Frankel resigned in 2004, famously saying that AOL's management of the company was like watching a slow-motion car crash. The lights officially started going out in 2013. AOL announced they were shutting down the website and the player. There was a massive outcry, a petition signed by tens of thousands of people to save Winamp. We didn't want to let go of the Zebra. Eventually, it was sold to Radionomy, and later it tried to make a comeback as a modern streaming platform. But let's be real, it's not Winamp. It's a brand name attached to a modern corporate vision. The real Winamp, the one that really whipped the Zebra's ass, lives in our memories and on that one old hard drive we all have in a desk drawer somewhere. Chapter 8, The Legacy of the Zebra. So why does Winamp still hurt? Why do we feel so much nostalgia for a media player? It's because Winamp represented the last era of the personal computer, a time when you were the boss of your machine. You owned your files, you chose your interface, you were a participant, not just a subscriber. Today, we rent our music, we rent our software, we live in a world of as-a-service. Winamp was a service to us, not the other way around. It was the peak of the wild, weird, and free internet. Which Winamp skin was your absolute favorite? Was it the classic base skin, or did you have that one specific modern one that made you feel like you were in the year 3000? Or maybe you were an equalizer obsessive, spending hours perfecting the rock preset. Drop a comment below. I genuinely want to know what your Winamp setup looked like. And if you survived the era when the internet was loud, customizable, and actually fun, subscribe to BeforeWiFi for our weekly reminders of the digital world we lost forever. Thanks for watching, and keep whipping that zebra.